Okay, guys, let's get started. So, can anyone give me a quick recall? In yesterday's session, what was the last topic that we discussed, guys? And also confirm whether my voice is loud and audible. Is my voice audible, guys? Loud and clear. Quick confirmation. Okay, so yesterday's topic that we stopped at, that we need to pause from our last session is DNS enumeration. So in DNS enumeration, I basically showed you guys practically how we can gather information of a domain name servers. So today we'll just move forward with the continuation of the topic. Nmap is completed, enumeration is completed, DNS, yeah. So today we basically need to discuss something about vulnerability assessment or vulnerability analysis. So just give me 1 second. So guys, today we are going to discuss something about vulnerability assessment and vulnerability analysis. So whenever you go for vulnerability assessment and vulnerability analysis, one thing is that first we need to basically try to understand what exactly is vulnerability and from where are we getting this vulnerability from. So whenever you go for these vulnerabilities, guys, these are basically nothing but whenever there is basically a software development team, right? So let's take an example of a website, web application. So whenever a web application is being builded, whenever a web application is being built, so there is basically a piece of code that is divided into front end, back end, and few of the services are there. So databases, hosting, and all everything will be combined, and a complete website, that is basically a dynamic website, will be hosted on the internet. So during this whole process, so in between, if there is some place where the developers or any of the person, either it is a database guy, either it is a DevOps person, or either it is a development person, developer, who basically writes the whole code, any of one person, basically if he does some mistake or anything, so that time, so that basically one mistake will basically cause the website a vulnerability. So vulnerability is nothing but it is considered as a bug, as a flaw, or as any kind of mistake which is really harmful. So if someone tries to use this vulnerability, so let's say there is a website and I find out the vulnerability. If I exploit this vulnerability, I will get lot of data outside the website. So I can get unauthorized access, I can get access to admin, I can get access to users data. So whenever we basically speak about the vulnerability, once the vulnerability is found and the attacker basically finds out the right way to exploit the vulnerability, right possible way to exploit the vulnerability, that time he will be able to use this vulnerability for his own use. So he can basically use it to get the users payment information, users payment details, user email IDs, user passwords, so admin passwords. So whatever information is present on the website, the whole database can get breached. So for that reason, to avoid these kind of vulnerabilities, whenever a software is developed, whenever a web application is developed, whenever we are configuring any kind of server or anything, there is one thing must, that we need to check for the vulnerabilities if there are any vulnerabilities, and then we need to basically release that either a software, either web application. We need to release the software, we need to host the web application, or we need to deploy the server. So before deployment, before hosting, or before, you can tell, releasing a software, there is one thing that we need to check, that is vulnerabilities. If there is any vulnerability still present after releasing, then it might basically harm the users data. So users data can get compromised. So for that, to, if you basically don't want that to happen, so in the last stage, what we are doing is we are regularly performing vulnerability assessments, that is vulnerability analysis. So to find out these n number of vulnerabilities, so whenever every work is completed, coding is completed, so testing is completed, everything is done, so then again regularly you need to check for the vulnerabilities. Once you find the vulnerability, that time there is basically a process. Again you find the vulnerability, again you need to follow a process. So whenever you find the vulnerability during the assessment, so how basically you can analyze a vulnerability, how basically you can perform an assessment to find out the vulnerability, so that we discussed in this module. Now, whenever you go for vulnerability assessment, guys, here we got 4 ways of vulnerability assessment. 4 ways of vulnerability assessment. One is active assessment, one is passive assessment, one is external assessment, and one is internal assessment. Now, whenever you go for these 4 different assessments, active assessment is nothing but, let's say your website is live. So a lot of people are coming and they are basically looking out for the products on your website. So that particular websites in that state, they are basically considered as live traffic websites. So you are going to look for the vulnerabilities under the live traffic of the website, which is working in working mode. So passive assessment is there. Passive assessment is nothing but you are going to take the backup of the whole functioning of the website. Then you are going to examine it later. So later you are going to examine and find out for the vulnerabilities. Now here you have external assessments. So whenever you go for external assessment and internal assessment, guys, so in ethical hacking, we basically have 2 ways. One is offensive way, one is defensive way. In offensive way, we are going to, if we basically find the vulnerability, whenever you are doing external assessment, if you basically find the vulnerability, then you're trying to, you will basically try to exploit the vulnerability, and you will try to look for the damage. How much damage does this vulnerability, what will happen exactly if you exploit this vulnerability? You will look out for the damage. How much damage is it doing exactly? What are the things that we need to consider, and how much time will it take to repair this, reheal this damage? Everything you're going to take care in the external assessment, that is offensive way. So uh, clearly telling, in external assessment, you are basically going to hack your own product, hack your own website, hack your own software, and then after hacking your own uh, software or hacking your own web application, that time you're going to decide how you can how it got hacked. So what is the damage that it is doing? Let's say there is a vulnerability, and in external assessment you try to exploit that vulnerability. Once it is exploited, that time you will basically need to check that what is the data that got compromised. So is users data vulnerable? So is it bad for user, or is it bad for the company's data, that is the internal data? So, or is it bad for the databases, or is it bad for the payment gateway? So where is it exactly affecting the website? That you need to take care, and then you will basically follow different steps. You will do complete you can tell reverse engineering, and then you will basically try to find out what are the different ways to exactly uh, heal or exactly patch these vulnerabilities. So in external assessment, you are going completely in offensive way. You are exploiting the website. You are looking at the damage. After looking at the damage, you are doing reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is nothing but how this happened, how this happened. You are connecting all the dots, and then you are trying to patch each and every vulnerability. That is offensive way. That is external assessment. Now here we got internal assessment, guys. Whenever you go for internal assessment, so in internal assessment, you will basically go in a defensive way. Defensive way is nothing but there you will basically go for what if this happens, what if that happens. You will basically try to look into each and every angle, and you will try to go for the complete defensive way. You will try to deploy firewalls. You will try to deploy right firewalls with right rule sets. So exact what are the rules that we need to follow, what are the different types of attacks. According to those attacks, you are going to configure each and every rule, and you are going to deploy it to the firewall. So that particular rule table, when once it is executed, so whoever tries to attack your website, so it will basically be in a complete defensive mode. So that is basically internal assessment. Now, whenever you basically go for vulnerability assessment or analysis, we basically got 6 different steps for the vulnerability assessment. So first thing is creating from the baseline. So in creating a baseline, what exactly you will do is you will basically try to take permissions. You will try to prioritize either it is web servers, active directories, or network. Which one? So basically, which one first, which one next, like that. So according to your priorities, you will try to basically start the assessment on each and every part. So once the assessment starts, then you will go to the part 2. That is basically the second step. In second step, guys, vulnerability assessment. Here you will basically find out the vulnerabilities. You will go for the process, everything. You will try different methods. You will try different methods and attack the website. And once there is a vulnerability you find out, then you are going to write the report. So each and every vulnerability, whenever either a normal person, either a cybersecurity analyst, or whoever he is, so once he basically finds a vulnerability, then definitely he need to write the complete detailed report from where did he start, how did it happen, and what was exactly he was doing on the website, so that it resulted in this way in basically finding the vulnerability. Everything he need to report. So here one thing is report. Now let's say if the vulnerability was found in 4th September, and whenever we don't proceed towards the, so guys, here one more thing is there. So whenever you basically find a vulnerability, one thing is you need to basically give the complete report. So according to that report, whoever the internal team is, they will basically take care, and they are going to patch that vulnerability. Now here, third step is going to be risk assessment. Now risk assessment is nothing but, guys, there are basically 3 modes of risk: high, medium, and low. So in risk assessment, whenever you find out the vulnerability, let's say if the vulnerability is high, so it is basically compromising the user's payment details, personal details, everything. So that time you will basically name it as a high. And if it is not damaging that much, it is basically a small vulnerability, like something like let's say some kind of error in the code or something like that, then it is going to be the low vulnerability. Now, whenever it is high vulnerability will basically show that you need a lot of time to work on that website. And again, you will basically try to do multiple vulnerability assessments. So one process is again and again repeated, rechecked each and everything, and then we'll proceed. Now here, fourth one is verify. So verifying is nothing but whenever you find the vulnerability, you report it, then risk assessment will be done. After the risk assessment is done, that time it's our duty to verify whether it is working or not. Now, whenever you go for the verification, so if it is, let's say, working, so it is like properly patched and everything. So workflow is completely smooth. There is no vulnerability, nothing, no defect, no kind of you can tell, you can't see anything, so you're not able to realize what was it. So everything is patched properly, everything is working. That is one part. Now let's say if it is not working properly, and again once you try to look for the same vulnerability and you try to exploit it, again it got exploited, then again you're coming to the step 2, again you're going to the step 3. These 2 steps will be again followed. Now, fifth one, monitoring. So once we basically examine the vulnerability, once the vulnerability is fixed completely, then again you are basically going to monitor it. So for the additional observation, you will try to monitor it for some time period, whether it is exactly fixed or not. You're trying to examine, you're trying to monitor it, and once it is completely considered the vulnerability is patched completely at some duration of monitoring, then definitely you can basically ignore that. So these are basically 5 different steps of vulnerability assessment. Now, whenever you go for vulnerability assessment, you got 2 types of tools, guys. One is going to be licensed tool, one is going to be service-based tool. Now, whenever you go for licensed tools, guys, licensed tools are basically given for some kind of you can tell duration of time for 1 year. So till 1 year the license will be valid. Uh, later it will be expired, something like that. Now, whenever you go for a service-based, according to each and every vulnerability assessment, either per vulnerability assessment they are going to charge, or either monthly they are going to charge. So that is a different kind of payment method. Now, whenever you go for vulnerability assessment tools, here Nessus is one. Nessus is basically a paid tool. Nexpose is one. OpenVAS is from Greenbone. NetSpark is one. Nikto is inbuilt in Kali Linux. Qualys is there. Acunetics is there. So these are basically known vulnerability assessment tools which give great results. So 7 tools are there. Now, whenever you go for these 7 tools, we will just try to understand how Nikto works in Kali Linux. I'll just show you. So here we have our 4th part. So guys, here once you come here, first you need to go for directly you can type Nikto, or you can directly take the sudo access, that is basically a root access. So you can perform. So for vulnerability scanning, can we use OWASP Zap tool? Yes, you can use Bhumika. There is no problem in that. So here Nikto is there. So Nikto, you're going to give the Nikto, you're going to give the host, then you're going to give the URL. Once you hit enter, so it is directly going to go scan the multiple IP addresses. So first it is going to find the IP addresses here. See, these are all the IPv4 IP addresses it found. So once it finds the IP addresses, then target IP address is there. Then port number 443, that is HTTPS port, and then host name is going to be amazon.com. Subject is there, ciphers are there. So what are the algorithms for encryption and decryption here? That is basically SHA-256 algorithm being used, and issuer is the global DG certification, and then server. From here it basically started scanning. We'll wait for some time. Just wait for some time, guys, until it gets done. So guys, I guess we started getting the results. So guys, here just try to observe whatever it is trying to give. So if we start from here, so cookie skin created without the HTTP only flag, without a secure flag. So again the same thing. Robots.txt server banner changed from server to CloudFront. Still we didn't get anything. I guess we need to wait for some time, guys. Sir, I did not get any get the round one submission link of secure password generator. So, guys, the links have been already shared in Telegram group. Just please try to go there and find out. Thank you. Okay, guys, let's find out if we can get something out of here. So contains 137 entries in which should be manually viewed. Okay. So every time you can see here, we are getting something related to Mozilla, and again we got one more Mozilla here. Ports figure Mozilla is returned and non-forbidden or redirect. We'll do one thing. We'll look for some another website. Go for simplylearn.com. See guys, here first thing is an anti-clickjacking X-frame options header is not present. So if you scroll down, vulnerability scanner, missing content type header. So Nipto is basically going to be a free tool, guys, but it will take a little bit time to complete the scan. So for that, you need to wait until it is completed. Yeah, guys, I guess we are done here. So here, let's check server banner changed Amazon. So secure cookie, PHP session ID created without a secure flag. So here you can see, guys, whenever it comes to session ID created without security flag is basically going without the secure flag. That is one vulnerability. And again, here also HTTP only flag is created. So retrieved X power OK entry is written non-forbidden redirect. Cookie SLJT created without a secure flag. Here also the cookies. So all whatever the vulnerability is there, that basically relies in the cookies. So guys, cookie is nothing but here. Whenever you go for a website, we basically try to save our passwords in detail, right? So whenever you go for a few websites, like let's say Microsoft or let's say Amazon, so whenever you try to log in, you basically save your password on that particular website. So whenever you save that password on the website, that is basically considered as a cookie. So whenever you try to log in, whenever you try to use the same URL, that time automatically it is going to retrieve the user ID and password from the saved passwords, and from there it is going to take you to the directly log in and take you to the redirected to the website. So here whenever you go for cookies, so here it is showing the cookie PHP session ID created without a secure flag and cookie created without a secure flag. So whenever you go for these cookies, so whatever data is being saved on the website, so some of the data related to session IDs and sessions is basically not secure. So that is exactly the vulnerability. Same thing whenever you go for each and every website, guys, you will get the complete report exactly like this. So each and everything it will show about the server, it will show about the cookies. So entry JSON is returned and non-forbidden to redirect. So like this, it will basically give contains 96 entries which should be manually viewed. So error limit 20 reached for host giving up. Last error opening stream can't connect SSL negotiation failed. So here at some time it basically tried maximum limit, error limit is 20. So it basically attempted 20 times and then it failed to again reconnect it to the host, that is basically simplilearn.com. So this is basically the method by using Nikto how you can exactly scan a website to find the vulnerabilities. So like this, you can perform vulnerability assessment. So not only this guys, either Nessus or any of the website, you can do the same thing. You can do the same thing. So you can take that particular tool and you can definitely go for the complete. You can definitely go for the complete scan. So whenever you go for web application securities, guys. So in web application security, what exactly happens on the internet? You need to first know this, what exactly happens on the internet in 2023, each and every minute. So every minute, according to the report of 2023, so there are basically 2,71,309 app downloads on iOS and Android. 22,831 chat GPT visits. This is per minute, guys. 241.2 million emails sent, 18.8 million text messages sent, 2.4 million Google searches, 6,94,000 video hours. And whenever you go for Instagram, 10 million, 10.4 million viewing minutes. So this is basically the maximum one, and email are basically the maximum one. So whenever you go for email and whenever you go for Instagram, so they are basically taking 10.4 million viewing minutes, and email sending is 241 million emails has been sent. Now, whenever you go for these two websites, whenever we basically consider the number 10.4 million, 10.4 million, and whenever we basically consider emails, that is 241 million. So we need to rethink that the website which is holding this much huge traffic definitely need to have some good infrastructure, that is the servers, firewalls, everything, right? Now here we basically need to maintain the secure architecture for these websites. So whenever I tell 241.2 million emails has been sent, so what if that 1 minute website doesn't works? So let's say emails, either it is Gmail or Yahoo Mail. So majority of one is Gmail or Microsoft Outbox. So any of the mailing facility, let's say one particular website, or let's consider Instagram. So Instagram watching viewing minutes are basically 10.4 million. What if Instagram application, that is basically Instagram, is not available for 1 minute or 2 minutes? So in 1 minute, it is going to lose 10.4 million views. So same thing for the YouTube also. If YouTube basically gets turned off, or the servers get crashed, or there is some kind of error, security breach or vulnerability or anything might be. So what if it basically turns out it doesn't work for 2 minutes? 2 minutes or 3 minutes, basically 7 lakhs of people, 7 lakhs of video hours, views, whatever will be there, they will be basically not be viewed on the website, and it can lose some millions of money regarding the financial thing. So here, whenever we basically tell about this, the servers getting crashed, or there is basically a web application which doesn't work for 2 to 3 minutes due to lot of the traffic. So one thing is genuine reason is, if there is lot of traffic, server is not capable of holding those requests and handling those requests, then definitely you're not going to you're not going to so users are not going to view the website for some period of time. But if the servers are in a good state and they are ready to they are basically able to process the requests and everything at a certain time, but still there is something in the back end that is not going good. So that time, in a cyber security part, in the ethical hacking part, there is something called as DOS attack. Even your infrastructure is good, even your servers are good, even your server's computational power is good, but still what we can do is, at some extent, whatever the limit is for your server, let's say your server limit is processing 1 lakh requests per second, so we will try to send 5 lakhs to 10 lakh requests per second. So we can basically push the limit of the requests to be sent to the server and then we can basically make the server crash. Doesn't matter how much time duration it is, how much the requests have been sent. If the limit is 1 lakh, we will send 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. If the limit is 10 lakhs, we will go for 15 lakhs, something like that. We'll try to exceed the limit of the server. So once the limit has been exceeded, then definitely the server is not going to work properly. Then definitely it is going to get crashed. That is the thing. So that is the most important thing. So the only reason to use DOS full form is denial of service attack. So denial of service name itself states that at some period of time you are basically trying to deny the service of the target, particular target, and then you're basically trying to target. You will try to target that particular website. Then once the website is targeted, you will basically try to target the server and you will try to bring down the server. So our only our only complete goal while using denial of service is to bring down the services of the server by pushing the request to the maximum limit. So whatever the server computational capacity is, we are pushing it to some extent so that server automatically should get crashed or it should not work properly. So by sending these fake requests, we are basically not allowing the genuine users to access the website for some period of time. So that is where DOS comes in. See, whenever you go for a DOS attack, denial of service attack, here we have two different scenarios. One is a normal user and another one is going to be, this is basically the attacker and this is basically the normal user. Now, whenever you go for normal user and attacker, so attacker's target is sending some fake IP address, using the fake IP addresses and sending n number of requests to the server at the maximum limit of the computational power. Now, here in between, what will happen is, whenever these fake IP addresses are trying to access the server here, at the same time, whenever the normal user is going to access the website, that is amazon.com, and server, what it will do is, the server will basically be busy with the requests getting generated by this fake IP addresses. Whenever these fake IP addresses are trying to access the amazon.com, this server will try to basically compute their requests first, and then it will basically sideline the other requests. So that time what will happen? So that time exactly what will happen, whenever a normal user, a genuine user is trying to access the website, he will not be able to access because of lot of traffic. But server doesn't know the traffic is basically the fake traffic generated by the attacker. So attacker exactly will generate the fake requests by using fake IP addresses, and then he will basically try to completely consume the computational power of the server. Once the consumption has been done, once the consumption has been done, then definitely the server is not going to be able to work properly. Then whoever normal public comes, whenever the normal public comes, so normal customers come and try to access your website, then it is going to deny all the requests. That is basically how DOS attack works. Now in DOS attack, guys, we got two different types. So one is denial of service, one is distributed denial of service. Now, whenever you go for distributed denial of service, in distributed denial of service, the attacker is going to target different computers. So let's say There is basically one attacker. Now that attacker will target some different, let's say he will basically hack my computer. He will get the remote access to my laptop. Then he will get the remote access to some other laptop. Like that, he will basically target different users, and he will try to remotely access their devices. Now, once he tries to now once he basically tries to compromise these all the different devices, n number of devices. So here the attacker basically tries to compromise this particular devices here. Once these devices are compromised, then he is basically trying to attack through this device. So he will basically remotely access my laptop. From my laptop, he is going to generate fake IP addresses, and then he is going to attack the server. So here is the attacker. Here is basically my laptop. From my laptop, he will generate fake IP addresses, fake requests, and same thing again for the number two, that is second victim. Again, there is basically the second victim here. He will basically take access of the second victim's laptop device remotely. Then he will generate the fake IP addresses and fake requests. Same thing with the third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth one, and seventh one. So he will basically find out the targets in the on the internet. He will try to compromise their devices. From those devices, he will try to target. He will basically try to take the access remotely. After taking the access remotely, he will directly target the server. And once the whole requests try to hit the server and the capacity of the server is reached to the final point, that is basically, let's say the capacity of the server is 1 lakh, something like 1 lakh requests per minute or something like that. And if there is 1 lakh of time, he will basically try to directly send the 10 lakh requests. So in DOS attack, he can basically send the up to 5 lakhs, 4 lakhs, something like that. But whenever it comes to whenever it comes to distributed denial of service, the attack is going to be more critical and it is going to be more dangerous. So that whenever this basically hits the server in 10 to 15, it basically has the power. It can generate n number of IP addresses. So whatever the IPs and fake requests are being generated, once they hit the server in 5 seconds, 99.9% of servers can basically stop working. So that is basically how DOS and DDoS attacks affect the performance of the websites. Either it is a e-commerce website, either it is a e-learning website, or any of the website. So one thing in common is each and every server has some kind of capacity. So we are going to basically push that particular server to perform at that capacity level. At some duration of time, it will basically not be able to perform with the same computational power. That time the server performance will get low slowly, the time will be decreased. So for each and every request to process, let's say it is taking 1 second, it will start taking 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, because the number of requests are increasing. So performance will get decreased each and every time. After the performance is getting decreased of the server, automatically we are going to server is going to get down. It is not going to work properly, and then we are basically the attacker will be successful in performing the denial of service attack, distributed denial of service attack. Guys, today is the last day to submit your abstract. Make sure you have submitted your abstract according to the evaluation criteria to get the full marks. And the sample abstract for the round one, who else failed in the round one, the sample abstract is basically pasted in the chat box. You can go and check there. So guys, this is all about the DOS and DDoS attack. So try to look into chat box, guys. The abstract has been shared. The sample abstract has been shared. So whenever you go for DOS attack, guys, denial of service attack tools, they are basically two different tools. One is low orbit ion cannon and one is high orbit ion cannon. Low orbit ion cannon is a tool where you can directly give the URL of the website here. So here you can basically give the URL. After giving the URL, you can basically go for the lock on and you can start flooding. Then the IP address will be selected. Whatever the target is, it will be shown here. The IP address will be displayed here, and then automatically it will start sending the different number of requests to that particular IP address. Sir, it should be more than 500 words. You can submit your abstract on tap. Uh, Farman, it should be more than 500 words, the abstract. Bite or ida. Hmm. So, just a quick confirmation, just confirm whether the abstract should be more than 500 words or there is some kind of limit for that. Guys, still anyone who didn't submit the abstract or whoever failed, just try to submit it as soon as possible because today is the last date. So guys, let's move forward. So, hmm, hmm. So whenever you go for DOS prevention methods, guys, so one of the type where you can basically prevent DOS is, so here I guess everyone has seen that in this diagram here, whenever you look at this, fake IP addresses are getting generated. So if you can basically predict whether the IP address is fake or from where it is getting originated, that is the one part. And one more thing is whenever an IP address is whenever the fake requests are basically being hit to the server, then the origin of the IPs will be repeated. So let's say here this one device will basically send some 100 requests to the server. So these 100 requests, so 10 will be sent from here, 10 will be sent from here, 10 will be sent from here, again 10, again 10. So again 10, again 10, again 10. Like that, it will be a repeated cycle. So whenever you go for the DOS attack, the repeated cycle will be followed. So according to that repeated cycle, we can basically try to filter the traffic and we can try to restrict that particular IP addresses and block those IP addresses. No, that is the one part which you can do manually. But one more thing is you can basically use firewalls and you can basically use different rule sets to definitely target and to definitely protect your web application. Now, one more thing is real-time monitoring can be done. Real-time monitoring is nothing but whenever you're trying to monitor the requests which are coming. So let's say if you basically try to monitor the graph like this. Now, if the network is basically going like this, and then suddenly it increases like this, and again suddenly it goes down, and again it is increasing. So at this point, you are going to see how many IP addresses have been were requesting the server to basically connect it to the website, and what are the requests, where are these IP addresses coming from, and that time you can definitely get to know that there are basically only 10 to 15 IP addresses or 20 IP addresses who are repeatedly trying to send fake requests to the server. So that is where you can basically use real-time threat monitoring and you can find the different traffic patterns. According to those traffic patterns, you can definitely move forward. Now, whenever it comes to tools, guys, you can use firewalls. You can use web application firewall, WAF. It basically is responsible to inspect the traffic. You can recognize the traffic patterns. You can basically monitor the incoming and inbound and outbound traffic, and also you can basically look at what are the IP addresses who are requesting and how many times they are requesting. If they are requesting same IP address is requesting for multiple times, then automatically that IP address could be blocked by using the firewall rule. So you can basically create that firewall rule and you can definitely use it. So this was all about DOS and DDoS attacks, guys. Guys, till here, do you have any doubts? Is everything clear? Is the revision going good? Please give me a quick confirmation if everything is clear, guys. Guys, I need a quick confirmation. Okay, if everything is clear, then we can definitely move forward. Now here, guys, whenever you go for web applications, as I told, there are basically vulnerabilities from past different like 2017, 2016, 2016, 2008, and everything. So each and every time, in each and every year, there are basically new security rules. There are basically different types of attackers, different types of hackers from different mindsets. They try to access the website's data. So each and every time, whenever there is a data breach, they basically find out a number of vulnerabilities. So these vulnerabilities can be definitely be noted. So OWASP top 10, whenever you go for this OWASP, so its duty is to basically what it is exactly doing is it will basically tell you the top 10 standard vulnerabilities. So which are basically present in the market and which are trying to whenever you go for websites, whenever you go for these websites, the 90% of the websites are getting affected because of these vulnerabilities. Now, here from 2017 to 2021, so here you got injection, broken authentication, sensitive data exposure, XML external entities, broken access control. So here, whenever you look at the left side, guys, just try to observe. So they are basically top 10 vulnerabilities here. So from A1 to A10, and here also A1 to A10 are there. But here, if you observe, there are few of them are basically going to be the new ones. So insecure design is basically going to be the new one. And software data integrity failures is basically the new one. And again, server side request forgery is also basically going to be the new one. So whenever you go for these new vulnerabilities, guys, so here if you try to observe first vulnerability, that is broken access control. So whenever you go for broken access control, so access control basically is related to user IDs and passwords. So whenever you go for these user IDs and passwords, people try to use weak user IDs and passwords. They basically, whenever it comes to an applications architecture, the user IDs and passwords are basically not in a safe place. So either the database is vulnerable, either the usernames are vulnerable. So passwords are vulnerable. So that is the one part. And whenever you go for cryptographic failures, in cryptographic failures, first it was basically known as sensitive data exposure. This sensitive data exposure is basically transformed to cryptographic failures. Now, whenever you go for this cryptographic failure, they are basically related to encryption and decryption. So here they often lead to sensitive data exposure, and also they can allow the attacker to compromise any of the system. So that is because of the unawareness of the right encryption and decryption algorithms. So if you don't use the right algorithm, if you don't keep it in the right architecture, then definitely you are going to get the cryptographic failures. Now, third one is going to be injection, guys. So, lot of web applications, so like 99% of the web applications are basically affected by the injections. So, one is going to be SQL injection, which is going to be the related to database. we can basically we can use SQL injection to expose the database vulnerabilities. And next one is going to be cross-site scripting. So cross-site scripting is basically used to either you can get the backend code of the website. If the cross-site scripting is there, you can basically change the prices, or so whenever you go for cross-site scripting, so it can basically expose the whenever you go for the prices of a website. So you can basically be able to change the website. You can basically get the data. You can basically look for the URLs. That everything can happen in cross-site scripting. So in injection, one is SQL injection, one is cross-site scripting, and next one is insecure design. So insecure design is basically the new one, guys. It is basically the newer one. So the vulnerability is basically proposed in 2001. So whenever you go for insecure design, it basically focuses on the design flaws. So design flaw is nothing but the architecture of the website. So whenever you go for the architecture of the website, either if you genuinely want to look out for the complete authorization part, database part, that each and every part can definitely like the architecture, if the architecture is not good, the design is not good, then definitely it is basically going to be the insecure design. Now last one is fifth one is going to be security misconfiguration. So just a moment. Yeah, security misconfiguration is there. So whenever you go for security misconfiguration, 90% of the applications were basically tested for the security form of misconfiguration. So what exactly happens is so exactly in security misconfiguration, so whenever you go for XML external entities, or if you basically go for the different categories in the website, so those categories, if they are not addressed properly and they are not configured securely, then definitely we will have the security misconfiguration vulnerabilities. So vulnerable and outdated components. Whenever you go for vulnerable and outdated components, so if one operating system is there and that operating system, or if one website is there and that website is basically outdated, that is using the old that is basically using the older versions, older database, and the older version of the database, older version of the server configurations and everything. And if it is not updated on time, then definitely it will be basically vulnerable. Because whenever the vulnerability is found, the company itself will basically give you a new version. Will basically give you a new version for that a particular vulnerability. So whatever the whenever you go for the outdated components also, if you are using those components, if the vulnerability is found after finding that particular vulnerability, still if you are using the same outdated one, then definitely you will basically be at the risk. Next one is going to be identification and authentication failures. These are basically nothing but, guys, whenever it comes to the authentication, first it was basically known for the broken authentication. So here you can see the second one is going to be the broken authentication. Now this second vulnerability basically shifted to the seventh part. It basically came to the seventh one, so that whatever the authentication failures were there, they were basically decreased from 2017 to 2021. So back in 2021, people doesn't have a lot of knowledge regarding this vulnerabilities. They basically have knowledge, or they basically don't have knowledge to use special characters, or to basically uh, not use the name, phone number, date of birth in the password. So a lot of people, what they basically do is, if my name is Irfan, so I'll basically keep Irfan at the rate 123. So you should not basically use those kind of passwords. They should be completely unique. So later on, when the awareness was, when there is a lot of awareness, whenever you go for the login pages, they basically try to help you by giving instructions. So once those instructions were given, after giving the instructions, people try to use the unique passwords. Either it is identification and authentication, related to identification and authentication. So rather than getting that failures, they basically try to avoid the particular users after awareing them, they try to use it in a unique way. Then that vulnerability from second, it came to the seventh part. Now, eighth one is nothing but, guys, software and data integrity failures. So whenever you go for software and data integrity, so everyone know that we basically use CAA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So in that, integrity is basically going to be the main part. So software and data integrity failures are nothing but, it basically is related to whenever you go for software and data integrity. So it is basically related to giving us right software update at the right time. That is the one part. So whenever you go for software update, software and data integrity failures, so it is basically in 2021, it basically stands on eighth position. Now it exactly focuses on making assumptions related to software updates, critical data. It deals with software updates, it deals with critical data, and also deals with continuous integration and continuous deployment pipelines without verifying the integrity. So it is also known as one of the highest weighted impacts from common vulnerabilities found. And whenever you go for the exposures of data also, here the data exposure will be more, and it is basically going to be the higher data exposure. So that is basically software integrity failures. Now, ninth one is going to be security logging and monitoring. Security monitoring and security logging and monitoring failures. So, guys, whenever you go for security logging and monitoring failures, it was first here you can see. First, it was basically known as insufficient logging and monitoring. Now it is basically changed to ninth vulnerability, that is security logging and monitoring failures. So here, whenever you go for security logging and monitoring failures, and here in 2017, it was known as insufficient logging. So whenever we say something about insufficient logging and monitoring, so in back in 2017, back in 2017, so people used to not like whenever you go for the either any of the corporate, either any of the owner of the web application, they basically don't purchase any of the softwares to monitor or to look for the traffic at the right time. So whenever you're monitoring the traffic, whenever you're looking for the logs, and whenever you're monitoring exactly, and you know what is happening on your website, then definitely if there is something, you will be able to definitely cross check it, and you will basically definitely will be able to counter that vulnerability. Now, lot of cyber attacks, whenever you go for the cyber attacks, they basically happen, and they basically try to breach the data, or they try to exploit the vulnerabilities. This only happens because of lack of monitoring. If there is someone who is trying to monitor and look out for the resources, that is monitoring server, monitoring database, then definitely if someone tries to mishandle the database or mishandle the server, and he tries to basically connect it with an unauthorized way, definitely that particular monitoring person will get an alert, or will basically try to look into that some IP address is going for the unauthorized access, and he can basically block that unauthorized IP address. But here, what is exactly happened is what exactly happened in 2017 is, guys, just a moment. So what exactly happened in 2017? So people, they don't even know what is monitoring. They don't even know how to monitor. There is no kind of there are very less roles for the monitoring in the security. But back in 2021, so there is something called a security operations center. So each and every corporate, each and every company, each and every startup, they have 2 to 3 employees for the whole monitoring of the network. So whatever the corporate network is, whatever the resources are being connected, whatever the resources are being connected to that particular Wi-Fi, that is basically the network, definitely they are trying to monitor that network, and they are trying to look for the any kind of IP addresses who are trying to mishandle some kind of data, who are trying to unauthorizedly take access of the database or something like that. So these, whatever is happening, this basically is completely dependent on the monitoring itself. In 2017, there was no monitoring. In 2021, whenever you go for security logging and monitoring failures, so there was monitoring, everything was set up properly, but the right people, whenever you go for the cyber security employees, so the requirement for the employees is in millions, but whenever you go for the skilled cyber security people getting out of colleges and being eligible for the job is going to be only 5 to 10%. So the 90 to 95% of the requirements are just there. So that is why regarding this, whenever it comes to security logging and monitoring failure, there is not a right expertise to monitor and handle the traffic. That is when you will basically get the monitoring failures. Last one is server side request forgery. So server side request forgery is basically going to be the new one, guys. Is going to be the new one. Server side request forgery is basically going to be the new category. So whenever you go for this, here the data basically is you can tell, like, whenever it comes to the testing part, whenever it comes to the security, either for the server side. Yeah, guys. So whenever you go for this server side request forgery, this basically happens when whenever you're trying to build a connection with the server and you basically try to request it and you try to manipulate the data. So let's say you want to bypass the login ID or some authorization. That time you can basically use tools like that time you can definitely use tools like burpsuit or any other tool. There you can basically capture the request, you can change the data which is present in that, and then you can forward that request. So like this you are basically trying to monitor the trying to basically manipulate the requests. So these manipulating requests is basically being done, and whenever you're trying to manipulate these requests, that time the server is, if the server is not configured and server is not going to be able to detect this, then definitely it is going to you are going to exploit that particular vulnerability. So that is all about security server side request monitoring, request forgery. Now, guys, one thing, whenever it comes to practicing, whenever it comes to uh, practicing this ethical hacking, so there are basically some kind of boundaries to practice. So if you want to go for OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities, you want to practice SQL injection, you want to practice cross-site scripting, you want to practice the brute forcing attack, something like that. You basically need to have some kind of secured lab setup where you can practice everything. You can't go to Amazon.com, Flipkart.com, and there you can't basically perform in number of attacks, right? So Amazon will catch you. He will basically raise a complaint against your IP address, and definitely cops are going to get you in no time. So that basically doesn't happen. So if you try to use your intelligence, so definitely you need to have a right setup whenever you're trying to do this. So here we basically got something called as metasploitable server. So whenever you go for metasploitable server, in this metasploitable server, you will get a vulnerable web application. On that web application, you can perform OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. And again, you can also have some kind of vulnerable server where you will have open ports, where you will have lot of services open, and you can try to exploit those services. So you need to download this metasploitable server, and that is a DVWA. Once you download it, you can basically log in by the default user ID and password. So that is basically mentioned on the server page itself. Once you log in, then you can go for the IP address and go to your Kali Linux and perform the attack on that particular server. So Metasploitable is going to be the virtual server for us. So you can perform n number of attacks. Under this server, there are basically two web applications hosted. So here, now what we are going to do is, we can basically perform SQL injection. So in SQL injection, what exactly happens is, guys, if you have a user ID and password. So let's say there is basically a login page here. In this login page, you have you have basically two different bars. One is basically going to be for the user ID, one is going to be the password. Now whenever I type username, that particular username is basically stored in the backend somewhere, that is basically the database. In one database, somewhere this username is getting stored, somewhere this password is getting stored. Now if I want to know where these exactly passwords are getting stored, where these exactly usernames are getting stored, and what is the list of usernames till now, what are they saved, everything, I want to get the complete list of that table. So this username and passwords are basically stored in a table in this particular database. Now I want to see this table in an unauthorized way. So that time what I'm going to do is, this username is capable of taking only some kind of terms like Bob, or let's say alpha. Either it can take alphabets, either it can take numbers, nothing else. So here in the username, if I basically give something like double quote 1 equals to 1 space or equals to dollar at the rate, something like this special characters, that time this particular username and password, whatever the portal is, that portal will basically show an error. It will give an error in this particular user ID. So wherever this user ID is getting stored in the table, the table address is nothing but SQL query will be displayed here. Here it will show like something error, and after showing the error, here definitely it is going to give the table address and then star and then exactly where the usernames are saved, and it can also give all the usernames till now whatever have been saved. So this whole table will be projected here. Whole table will be projected, user IDs and passwords. User IDs and passwords will be shown here. So here this is one thing. So how it is getting showed is because whenever you try to use these special characters in this input field, sorry guys. So whenever you're trying to give this user IDs and passwords, so whenever you're trying to, whenever you basically try to manipulate this input present in the user ID and password, these are basically special characters. So these are basically called as SQL parameters. If you use these parameters in user IDs and password, and there is a vulnerability of SQL injection present in the website, then definitely you will definitely get this table projected displayed on the in the error part. It will not basically ask you to error the valid username, but it will ask you to error the valid username. Also, it will show the present user IDs and passwords which are saved in that particular database. So the whole part will be whole SQL database table, wherever the other user IDs and passwords are being saved, everything will be exposed in the same time. Let me just show you how it will be done. So guys, here, sir, explain about Metasploit tool. Yeah, definitely I will explain about Metasploit tool, Amarnath. So here guys, whenever you want to log in into Metasploitable, you can basically turn it on. The username is going to be MSF admin and the password is also going to be MSF admin. There on the screen itself, it basically gave login with MSF admin and login with MSF admin and password is MSF admin. So whenever you want to basically get get the IP address of that particular server, you need to type ifconfig. So once you basically type ifconfig, you are definitely going to get the IP address of that particular server. So here guys, what should we download to run SQL injection? Source code, sir. You can, as I told you, you can get the source code from GitHub of either SQL injection tool, that is SQL map. You can basically use SQL map and you can perform SQL injection. And the source code of SQL map, you can basically use that source code. On GitHub, you will get. So what is, I guess your project is related to SQL injection. So try to use a SQL map tool, or you can also use the SQL parameters. Whenever it comes to using the giving the source code, you can basically give the source code of either metasploitable server. If you find the source code, give it that way, or else you can basically give the source code of SQL map, that is basically SQL injection tool. Yeah guys, now once basically we get the IP address, we can move forward. So now we'll basically go for our Kali Linux and we'll basically look out for the DVWA, that is damn vulnerable web application. Here, once you log in, you can basically just type the IP address there in your terminal. So, or else you can basically, whenever you go for this server works on the local host. So, whenever this server is working on the local host, you can just go to your browser and you can type the IP address. You will get the DVWA page. Here you can go to browser and log into DVWA. Just type the IP address of the metasploitable 2. Here you can see guys, you got PHP myadmin multi-day DVWA web DAV. So here you can choose DVWA as your target machine. Just open DVWA. There you will get the username and password. So here username is, so password is going to be password. Username is going to be admin. Username is admin, password is password. Once it is done, go to login. Now, first thing here, guys. So whenever you basically want to use this DVWA, here you basically have to go to setup and you can basically set up the security, that is low, medium, high. So DVWA security, you can basically choose low, medium or high, anything. Just we will go with the low and then you can create. So now one thing is we want to do the SQL injection attack. For doing SQL injection attack, we first need to create the database. First, we need to basically go to setup and we need to create or reset the database. Now, database has been created successfully. Users table is created, guestbook is created, everything is created. Setup successful. Now we will go to the SQL injection part. Here you will get the user ID. So here whenever I tell something about the parameters, SQL parameters. So whenever you go for SQL injection is going to be vulnerable for SQL parameters. That is one equals to or single quotes. They are basically mixture of special characters which basically try to manipulate the database. Now we will try to manipulate the database by giving a SQL parameter. So here you can just type. See, Prakash, whenever it basically comes to the project part, I'll just give the last 15 minutes to you. I'll explain you how exactly it will work. So here, guys, whenever you type, so here we typed, you can see here in the ID that is basically going to be the first part. Just a moment. Uh, just a second, guys. So here, whenever you look at the first line here, id one single inverted comma, or again one inverted commas again equals to inverted commas hash. So this is basically a mixture of numbers, mixture of alphabet, mixture of special characters. Now we basically call it as a SQL parameters. Now whenever it comes to SQL parameters, you can just go to your browser and you can just type SQL parameters for SQL injection. You will get n number of SQL parameters. From that SQL parameters, you can use anything. Now here, whenever you go for the user ID, you can see from the database. So previously, first name, first name admin, first name Gordon, surname Brown, like this. Each and every time, there are basically 5 different requests, 5 different user IDs and passwords. 5 different user IDs and passwords were basically given. Once you give the parameter, all the previous user IDs will be exposed at the same time. So whenever you go for SQL injection part, if the website is vulnerable, you will definitely get the user IDs. Whatever data was saved, the data will be exposed. So this is going to be the another query. So here once you use the another query, guys. So here we are basically getting the password also. So first name is username is given, surname is there, ID union, select user, password from users. Now whenever you go for the second name, that is basically the passwords extracted. Now these are basically in the hash values. You can see they're basically in the hash values. We can basically crack that into normal thing. So whenever you go for 5F4 DCC 3B5A, this is basically some kind of encrypted format. You can basically decrypt it. For decrypt it, you can simply copy it and go to some online crack station or .NET or some online resource, and you can paste, and then you will get the exact value. So if you want to crack the hash, see the result is password. Password was the password. Now, if you go for the second user, that is Gordon B, if you try to copy this and if you try to paste, here also you can basically find the whatever the hash is there, you can basically take the exact value of that hash. You can crack that hash. See, ABC123 is the password. Like this, you can definitely. So here you can also use that John the Ripper tool. So which by using which you can try to take the hashes. So this is all about SQL injection, guys. So regarding the doubts for the password, so there is one guy, Prakash. So Prakash, whenever you go for phishing websites, so remember that 90% of the phishing websites are not secured. They basically use HTTP protocol. So you can also build a project which can predict, which can basically see whether the website is using HTTP protocol or HTTPS protocol. If the website is using HTTP protocol, then the website is not secure. And if the website is using some kind of links which are getting redirected from one website to another website, that also you can basically make it as a phishing website. So try to concentrate on the HTTP and HTTPS part. Sir, how to fix the error in SSL in Kali? So I need to look for the error. What is the error exactly? Then only I can tell Sampath. Otherwise, I will not be able to address it. Guys, any doubts regarding projects, you can ask. We have more half an hour, so I can clarify your doubts. Any doubts, guys? Anyone? See, I am asking right now. Again, tomorrow, you should definitely not tell me that, sir, we have this doubt, this doubt. So if I'm asking, please try to address today itself. Advanced system hacking via SMB exploitation. So tomorrow I will show you how SMB exploitation is done on Metasploitable. You will look for FTP and SMT exploitation both. That is only going to be your project, Amarnath. So attend Friday's class. I guess tomorrow we don't have class. Friday I will show you. Still, guys, anyone having any doubts? If you have any doubts, please ask, guys. Yeah, guys, still anyone having any doubts? Just a moment. Sir, is there any X code required for abstract? What is X code, Sidhu? Sir, my project topic is keylogger. Can you please tell how to do that? You can how to do what to do. You can basically write a Python code for the keylogger. You can use online resources. It is easy. It is not that tough. Say about firewall vulnerabilities analysis using Wireshark. So yesterday I showed you guys using acknowledgement scan, you can basically predict whether the firewall is present or not. That is only the way you can use the same process. How to fix the error in SSL? I already told you I can't tell that without looking at your computer. And again, you're asking me the same question, Sampath. Sir, firewall vulnerability analysis using firewall. You can use a firewall vulnerability analysis. You can use something like acknowledgement scan to basically predict whether the firewall is present or not. Sir, is there any Xcode required for abstract? Try to make like given sample. See, the sample has been given, Sidhu. Just try to look at that sample image and then try to make it in the same way. Sir, where we execute our project? Where will you execute your project, Yugandhar, on your own system, right? What do you mean by where we execute our project? Yugandhar, can you tell me what is your project title once? How to submit source code like zip file or any another format? What is your project title, Yugandhar? Do you remember what was your what do we need to submit project last date? Do we need to submit project last date? Advanced SQL injection attack. For advanced SQL injection attack, you can basically use DVW, right? In DVW, you got 2 to 3 techniques. Try to look up those techniques and try to perform the attack. Try to install Metasploit table, the one which I showed you today. Try to install the Metasploit table server. Try to use SQL injection attacks. You have different parameters, right? By just type SQL injection parameters in Google, you will get lot of parameters. You will get lot of material online. Try to learn from that material and do different use cases. It is easy. Sir, how to create firewall? So firewall is not created, it is deployed. What is your project, Harish? Just try to tell me your title once. Just having a doubt other than project. Okay. So firewall is not created exactly. You need to basically, whenever you go for firewall, you need to club all the networking part. You need to go for the monitoring. You need to take the monitoring. You need to take the rule sets. You need to take the like either it is either you want to detect whenever the IP address is doing unauthorized things, or you want to prevent the particular unauthorized way which IP address is trying to access. You need to decide, and then you need to basically develop the whole firewall scenario from monitoring the traffic to whenever it is getting the threat. You need to also mention in the code that how it is going to basically you can tell detect or prevent that particular access. So in intrusion detection system we detect, but intrusion prevention system we directly block that IP address, right? For that complete the statement should be there, the whole software should be developed, and then that is basically deployed. Same like how you have antivirus, same thing you have the firewall, but antivirus is used for the host based. But whenever the computer based one, at some limited resources, the firewall is basically used for the whole infrastructure, that is multiple consumption of the users. Sir, SQL injection perform any site, then found out of payload. Then how to exploit it? Which website do you want to exploit, Sampath? Tell me the website. Sampath, can you tell me the website where you find out is it is vulnerable? What is lot of payload? I didn't get you. So guys, regarding the project, everything is available on your fingertips. You need to just look out and research. Once you research, then definitely you will be able to. Who is projecting the screen? Farmana. Yeah. Oh, okay. You can. So what is this? Farman, you can just check this once. Uh, what is this link exactly telling? Is SB login BVC BVCECAU autonomous? BVCE autonomous. Sir, is there any tools or library to access the URL and analyze it? Sir, we also find the website is phishing or not by using the content, means asking any key element like urgent message. See, Prakash, you need to use some kind of ML algorithm. You need to give the data set of phishing links, that is 10 to 20 links, or you need to use the API to basically get those phishing links. Then you need to detect whether it is a phishing link or not. You need to see for the HTTP or HTTPS URL, what is the exact URL. Then based upon that, you can predict whether the website is a phishing link or whether the website is uh, actual link. Still anyone any doubts, guys, regarding projects? Please ask it. Rida. Guys. Oh, camera off. So Sampath, I guess this is college website, right? Okay, just a moment. College website, BVC Autonomous login. So what did you find on this college website, Sampath? Right. So, guys, I am telling you, don't try to perform any kind of whatever I taught you. Don't try to perform any kind of attacks on your especially college websites, because if college has the authority to cancel your degree, or it can basically take strict action. And once the action has been taken, then if you have the problem in getting your certificates or something like that, then it will be your lifetime problem. So please don't try to go behind the college websites. If they are vulnerable, leave them vulnerable, or try to tell the college, inform the college. But please don't try to move forward. Don't try to exploit those vulnerabilities. If you try to exploit them, if someone like me or someone like a cybersecurity expert is hired to get the IP address, to track everything, and to basically do the reverse engineering, and if your IP address gets caught, then definitely you will be in some bad trouble. Uh, I can inform college. I can inform the college already. Yes, you can inform the college, but don't try to exploit it, Sampath. That is what I'm trying to tell. If you have informed the college, then good. It is well and good. It is good for them to patch the vulnerability. So like this, you will find n number of vulnerabilities. There are basically a lot of vulnerabilities you will find in this either college websites or either any of the websites. So whenever you find something like that, you can just try to look into it. Still any doubts, guys? Can you explain what SQL query you insert for a vulnerable website? Harish, you can just type SQL parameters for SQL injection on Google. You will get the whole sheet, whole table for the SQL parameters. Sir, explain about audio steganography. So guys, for audio steganography, so I'll just try to provide you some link or provide you some you can kind of document tomorrow, by tomorrow or in the next class. In the next class, I will just try to give you some. We have a tool to do that audio steganography. So we basically have some tools. Yeah, we basically have some tools, and we also have that project done in the last college. So I'll just try to get the document for you guys. You can read the document and build your project on your own. That will be much more easy for you. About web vulnerability scanner, you can use Nikto. You can also use Metasploitable as web vulnerability scanner. Lot of material is there online. If you want to go and learn there, just try to look. What are the steps to take the execute the project? Advanced hacking SMB exploitation. So tomorrow's class, I will show you how SMB exploitation will be done, guys. So whoever is having SMB exploitation, I will show you tomorrow. So I'll explain about secure password generator. So for secure password generator, you need to create a user ID and password using HTML coding. You need to create the page, and that page should, whenever you enter the password in the backend, you should code in a way that it should use an RSA algorithm. By using that algorithm, it should encrypt and it should save the password. So for that, you need to do the whole coding part, and then you need to create that project. So for that projects also, it is an easy project. It is not that tough project. You will find lot of material. So try to research and try to find out lot of material which is available on internet. You will exactly get the code, everything available. Everything is available on the internet. There is nothing. Sir, what are your thoughts on bug bounty? Guys, bug bounty is nothing but, see, only like if 100 students, 100 people are there, in only that 3 to 4 people will be able to get the bug bounty. Bug bounty is nothing but if you find the bug, you will get the bounty. Bounty is nothing but the cash prize. So if you find a vulnerability in any website like Google, Microsoft, they will give you, Microsoft, Google will definitely give you a job according to the vulnerability you found. If it is too critical, too severe, directly you can get a job. Or else you will get a Google Pixel phone or some goodies from Google or from Microsoft. So in bug bounty, in vulnerability assessment, there are only some 7 to 8% of freelancers who try to find out, because all the organizations will hire the right talent whenever it comes to cyber security part. So already internal people who are working in that organization, they definitely will find the vulnerabilities. What is advanced SQL injection attacks? So today, whatever I explained is SQL injection attack only. In that, there are also few attacks left. You can just guys, why I don't know why you people are not searching on internet, not using internet resources, not using blogs, not using official content which is available on internet, and you are asking me some simple questions. What is advanced SQL injection attack? So already one session is completed, already recap is completed, but still I am getting small doubts. In-depth vulnerability scanning using Metasploit will be explained tomorrow, Kiran. Don't worry about that. SQL injection, whatever I told today, in that you have 2 to 3 techniques. Use those SQL parameters and try to do the exploitation part. Still any doubts, guys? Anyone? Guys, these are all small topics. If you try to keep effort from your side, and if you try to uh, search it on internet, if you try to read documents, if you try to read research papers for at least half an hour of time, if you spend it, you will get the whole project. But you don't want to work from your side, you want spoon feeding, so that spoon feeding will not be done from my side. So please, I am not going to give you any GitHub repository. I'm not going to tell you go and download and submit it. Nothing like that. So nothing will be done from my side. If you have any doubt, ask me. I will explain. That's it. You need to do 100% on your own. Sir, the project selection link is invalid. I have entered both registration number and mail, but also the problem is same, sir. My registration number is. Farman, please look into this project registration part. Guys, everyone try to just fill that feedback form, which is for attendance. Chrome extension using phishing detection website. How the source code be, sir? You need to code for that source code. I am not going to give you code, right? You know, you only need to code it. How the source code means, you need to give the code, you need to code everything. I am not going to give the code from scratch. Try to look out for so see Uma Srivani. So Srivani, first you need to learn how the Chrome extensions work. How the Chrome extensions work, how what is the back end, what is the front end of the Chrome extension, how they exactly try to block, how they exactly, let's say I have a Chrome extension in my laptop, which will automatically allow the people who are waiting in the meeting. So let's say I created a Google meeting and it is a restricted access. So every time I need to enter allow to allow the students. So I basically have one Chrome extension which will automatically allow students to enter the meeting. So that is a Chrome extension. So you need to know how that Chrome extension is working, how it is allowing the automatically the people, and what is the exact the code, how the code is basically designed. If you know how the extension works, then definitely it is easy for you to just add a term phishing detection in that. In Flask Power, secure password generator and secure password generator are same. So for Flask, you will be using the Python Flask. Flask is basically a different framework. You will be using Flask, but the whole terminology is same. The coding part is only different. Still any doubts, guys? So coming to the password generator, you can basically create a website. You can basically create a small website using Flask, and you can basically whenever the password is being stored, whenever I type username and whenever I type password, that password should be stored in the backend. That password should be stored in the backend in an encrypted format. So like that, you need to write a code. You can use different resources to get the code from. You can just try to take inspiration from lot of codes which are available online, and you can design your own code. It is not that tough. You can complete the project in 25 minutes, Niharika. Half an hour is more than enough to complete that project. Still any doubts, guys? So whatever topic is there, whatever your title is there, whenever you're writing an abstract, you will get lot of information, right? Based upon that abstract, you try to go in a technical way to get the information. So that is how you need to learn and you need to try to build your project. Still any doubts anyone regarding the projects? So tomorrow I will explain about SMB exploitation and vulnerability assessment using Metasploit. So two will be completed tomorrow, and whoever has that vulnerability, so SMB exploit, XMB and vulnerability assessment using Metasploit, please try to attend to Friday's session and try to just note down the points or whatever you want to do. Just try to take notes, and that will be only your execution of the project. See, Sai Prakash, we have already completed these projects multiple times. Okay. In the last college, students, they automatically see, whenever it comes to Chrome extension and all, uh, students, they only created on their own, they projected it in the last date. No one asked me, sir, how to create it. They were only second year students. Okay. They were only second year students. They only created on their own. They only wrote the whole code. They used online resources to generate code, to get the code online, and then they try to modify that code. They try to basically build the code in a way that it should work properly, and they basically targeted the output they want. Then the project was created. So it is not that tough. Students from second year completed in 2 to 3 days. And I already told you Flask is a framework, Niharika. Flask is a different framework. I already told you that they both are not same. Flask is basically a framework which is different, and secured password generator can be done. Secured password generator code can be done in any language. but Flask one should be done by using the Flask framework only. So that is only the limitation. But whenever it comes to the working model, both are having the same working model. Only the code will be little bit different. That's it, nothing else. When the titles are different, then the project is definitely going to be different. So that is what I'm trying to tell you. You don't even know what is Flask. That is the only reason you're asking me, is Flask power different or secure password generator is different. Where that was clearly mentioned in titles that Flask, by using Flask, one should be done. By using any language, one can be done. That is the difference. Attendance link has already been shared. You can scroll up and get the attendance link. Guys, everyone can fill this attendance link, and you guys can leave.